Here.
Councilmember Ross.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Fagerly.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Butterfield.
Here.
And Schultz.
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Oz.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
And Schultz.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Consent items. I'll call on Vernee Larson, City Clerk.
Mr. Mayor and council members, tonight for your approval, I have the City Council minutes of February 3rd, 2025, the City Council work session minutes of February 10th, 25, Willmar Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of February 10th, 2025, Willmar Police Commission meeting minutes of December 18th, 2024, Willmar Police Commission meeting minutes of January 22nd, 2025, Planning Commission minutes of February 5th, 2025, Willmar Fest Inc.'s lawful gambling application, Prairie Lakes Chapter Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation lawful gambling application, the accounts payable report from 1/30/25 to 2/12/25, and for your information, directors' reports, the monthly building permit reports for January 2025, and the Willmar Municipal Utilities financial report for December of 2024.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis. Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Good evening. It's an honor and a privilege to.
Mayor Reese,
Yeah,
there's open forum people. Did you get the list?
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. That's on the bottom of the page. I turned it before that. I apologize. Yes. Thank you for correcting me. Justin Rux. Give your name. You got 3 minutes. Name and address, please.
Hello, I'm Justin Rux. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I live in Spicer, 4173 104th Avenue Northeast. I'm here on behalf of the Willmar Hockey Association. I'm the president of the Willmar Hockey Association. Along with Michelle Hansen, I want to thank her, the president of the Willmar Hockey Boosters, and Rob Baumgarten for his hard work on the outdoor rink proposal and the monies that have been allocated towards that. As you know by my address, I'm a Spicer resident. When we bought our house, we purposely open enrolled to Willmar schools to be a part of this association and be a part of that beautiful facility. So I want to thank you guys for your support of the outdoor rink and growing that facility. Rob's work out there to make it an incredible destination. It's been a boon to the economy for all of our tournaments that we've had out there, and I want to show my appreciation to you guys for supporting that. So thank you. That's my only address for tonight.
Well, thank you. It's the way to start.
Yeah, well, we
Thanks,
appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Matt Dawson, 1010 Meadow Lane, Willmar, Minnesota. Ward 2, just want to say thanks to the city staff, the council, and the Mayor Reese for all that you guys are doing for our community. And thanks for giving us a fair shot at taking a look at the proposal tonight that Rob will present. And it's been 8 years in the making. And I just want to thank Councilmember Davis for all of her support. She has always listened, open-minded to myself living in Ward 2, and Julia's fantastic. I have no doubt Steve's going to be fantastic as well, and Mr. Gilbertson as well. So just want to thank you all for your service and appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Andrew Martinka?
I'll pass tonight, thank you.
Okay. And Joe?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Joe Riddler, 1912 20th Avenue Southwest, Willmar. I was talking to a couple friends of mine that are on the fire department in their hometowns. And rumor is that a law is changing that equipment has to be 10 years or newer. And I don't know if you folks are aware of that. And I got looking at our equipment and it's quite old. And so I just want you guys to think about that. We didn't even have enough money to buy a ladder truck. Our ladder truck is quite old. But y'all are looking to spend big money on a cable system. Fire department reflects on our homeowners insurance too. So we might have bigger bills coming at us. So I want you to think about, as you guys digest spending 24 million on a whim. I know there's been a lot of discussion on it, but we need to look at this. I don't know if staff is aware of the new OSHA requirements or not. And I'm quite concerned when I look at our equipment. So please think before you vote yes on this cable. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, with that, I think that was the last one, wasn't it? Yes. All right. Each year, the mayor delivers a State of the City address, which I'm going to do this evening. And just welcome everyone. And it is an honor and a privilege to come before you tonight as your mayor to deliver a State of the City address. And as we reflect on the past year and look towards the future, I'm filled with optimism and pride about the direction in which our city is headed. Together, we are building a thriving, inclusive, and vibrant community for us all. And as I look back at 2024, I'm proud to highlight the significant milestones and achievements that have defined our city. First, I want to address the changes within our departments. We have recently bid farewell to some of our long-serving colleagues who have retired after decades of dedicated service. These individuals have shaped the very foundation of our city, and we are grateful for their contributions. However, as we say goodbye to some familiar faces, we are excited to welcome new talent and fresh perspectives into our departments. We have successfully onboarded a number of skilled professionals, which each brings their unique expertise and energy to their roles. With their leadership, we are poised to continue providing the services you rely on while embracing the new ideas and strategies that will help our city adapt to the changing times. 2024 continued the City of Willmar's commitment to be a welcoming, growing community where everyone feels respected and has equal access to resources and opportunities. Our city has changed substantially over the past 30 years. Willmar's city leadership and staff want Willmar to practice equity and inclusion in all our sectors. We have turned the vision of welcoming and belonging into a reality. To respond to these opportunities, our Office of Community Growth has focused its work on 3 pillars: community engagement, civil engagement, and leadership engagement. Willmar's community growth effort is determined more by what we do than by what we say. We believe this is the right path to take because it will make us stronger and more welcoming and growing. On February 21st, 2024, Willmar launched its new city logo. The rebranding initiative aiming at creating a unified and modern image that reflects the city's growth and diversity. The rebranding effort included a new logo, tagline, and visual identity to be used across all city departments and communications. The goal is to enhance Willmar's perception, promote community pride, and attract businesses, residents, and visitors. Since the rebranding, we have received numerous compliments from visitors who have enjoyed the new look and information provided by the Willmar Convention Bureau. One of the city's goals for 2025 is to amplify Willmar's messaging in the social media realm. Recently, our staff completed an 8-day training session with one of the top 10 social media executives, Sam Tolles. A key change to watch for in 2025 will be how the city of Willmar engages, communicates, and promotes Willmar in the realm of social media. In 2024, the city of Willmar experienced a significant boost in commercial development, with an estimated $42 million investment driving growth in new business and services. Among the most notable developments are Popeyes, a new subway on Highway 12 East, Les Schwab Tires out by Menards, Happy Halal goat processing plant, Willmar Middle School Gymnasium, and in addition to the Kidney Dialysis Center. Through our Planning Development Department, we issued 731 permits, leading to an increase in housing units, including 6 new family homes, 3 duplexes, and the currently under construction 118-unit senior apartments by Bethesda. In total, commercial residential permit valuation was over $71 million. In addition to these developments, the Planning Development Department facilitated a robust community engagement schedule with more than 20 events and counting. The feedback gathered last summer laid the foundation for the city's comprehensive plan with Willmar. This plan is the result of extensive collaboration between the City Council, Planning and Development Department, community stakeholders, and most importantly, you, our neighbors of Willmar. Your valuable input, ideas, and feedback have been the driving force between this plan, ensuring it truly reflects the needs and desires of our diverse community. We look forward to the draft documents release in the coming weeks. The industrial park has long been a focus for growth in the city. 2 years ago, the city began discussions about internet service and its importance in industrial park. The council approved sending requests for proposals, receiving 3 distinct ones. A broadband committee was formed to provide guidance, and over the past 2 years, staff and committee have developed an open access network system. This system will provide the fiber backbone for private companies to deliver fast and more reliable broadband service to residences and businesses. If approved, this project will be the first of its kind in Minnesota. The wastewater department completed the construction of the Eagle Lake lift station and re-roofed the treatment plant along 7th Street Southwest. This year, the department is working on designing and constructing the Iverson Park Lift Station and the industrial bionutrient removal system. This system uses biological matter for treatment processes and therefore saves on chemicals. Over the past 2 years, the city has made significant improvements to streets, paths, and parking lots, including the Thompson Park parking lot, 13th Street Southwest from Trott Avenue to Willmar Avenue, Grace Avenue from 11th Street to 15th Street, and 19th Avenue path improvements. The total bond investment was $11 million, supplemented by a $500,000 grant for the 19th Avenue path improvement. This year, the council scaled back street reconstruction projects, prioritizing mill, reclaim, and overlays, continuing the commitment to crack and seal coating in order to extend the life of city streets. Engineering estimates the cost for crack and seal coating at $334,000, up from $286,000 last year. Mill and reclaim and overlays included Business 71 with ADA improvements as part of the project, Eagles Landing, Fairway Park, Valley Brook, Glacial Valley, Ortonblad areas, and Technology Drive will be reclaimed and overlaid, with all projects totaling about $7.8 million, with $1.5 million grant funding from the state of Minnesota local road improvement program for the Business 71 improvement. The city will bond approximately $5.2 million. In 2025, the city, county, and BNSF will explore conducting a corridor study to assess at-grade crossings within the city and county. This past year, Willmar also made a significant investment in the purchase of a $1.7 million ladder truck for the fire department, due to be delivered in early 2026. The fire department responded to 378 fire calls, and the first responder unit went out on 158 calls. All calls were equivalent to 8,370 firefighter hours. Besides answering fire and responder calls, our volunteer firefighters spent a total of 4,820 training and activity hours. In 2024, our Park and Rec Department achieved significant milestones, including installing new playground equipment at Valleyside Park and securing a $187,500 grant from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to enhance the trailhead of Civic Center Drive. These enhancements will feature restrooms, a pavilion, and water services, with a total project cost of $250,000. Furthermore, excuse me, the city of Willmar was awarded a $1.3 million grant from the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission as part of the state's legacy funding to support the first phase of the amphitheater project at Robbins Island. Earlier this year, the council approved reallocating $1.5 million in local sales tax dollars to explore the possibility of constructing an outdoor covered ice rink. Tonight, we will review the bids received for that project. In closing, I want to thank the City Council, all our fine staff, and each of you for continued support and dedication to our city. Together, we are building a bright future for Willmar. Thank you. All right, Under regular business, the next item is awarding the bid to Tradesman Construction Incorporated for the outdoor covered ice rink. And I call on Rob Baumgart, our Recreation Director.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, member of the council. Tonight, we're going to adopt a resolution for the city council of the city of Willmar that the bid from Tradesman Construction out of Alexandria, Minnesota for the outdoor covered ice rink pavilion project is accepted, and be further resolved that the mayor and the city administrator of the city of Willmar are hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with the bidder for the terms and the consideration of the contract in the amount of $1,100,593. So just recapping a little bit about how we got here. On May 6th, the council approved reallocating the contingency funds from Swanson Fields project, Robbins Island, and the recreation fields to give us that $1.59 million budget. On December 16th of '24, the council approved the final plans and specifications for the outdoor rink and pavilion and authorized the plans to go out for bids. The bids opening were on January 23rd of 2025 at the Civic Center, and we received 7 bids for the project. The lowest bidder was the Tradesman's Construction out of Alexandria. Bolton and Mink and city staff reviewed the bid documents, and it's our recommendation to approve the Tradesman's Construction for this project. And also staff is recommending to approve the alternate 2A and 2B for $73,701. These alternates will provide an asphalt service inside and outside the rink to fit, and it all fits in with the overall budget. So when we look at the budget, we started off with $1,590,708.04. So when we put the base bid of the Tradesman's Construction in there, the Bolton and Mink contract, and the Becker Arena product, which we'll talk about on a separate agenda item right after this. And then we put in our city costs, which is $63,000 with our city contingencies and $18,400 of special inspections for like concrete, permitting, surveying. Our total expense comes to $1,516,398, which gives us a remaining budget of $74,382.04. That's why we would recommend the alternates of 2A and 2B of $73,701. So everything fits within the budget. And then we still have contingency dollars if there are anything that we have to do special beyond this. So it all fits within the budget.
And these are all lost funds.
Correct. Yes, sir. So, have any questions?
Carl?
So the 2A and 2B, the asphalt inside the rink and outside the rink, what's the purpose of that?
So now we have a hard surface, so when the boards come off, we can do other things in there in the spring, summer, and fall time until the boards go back in.
I thought, I guess, that we kind of wanted gravel because if we had a hard surface, we couldn't repair the cooling, or it'd be harder to put in the pipes for the cooling, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, this is this project here is non-refrigerated, so right now, we would just want, the hard surface is what we would
Okay,
want to go
all right.
with.
I think
That
what
was
Carl's
a goal.
getting at is, we had discussed the future, if there is consideration to put in artificial ice.
Though there's 2 ways to do it, then you would have to put the piping, which is going to be between $300,000 and $400,000 just to lay the pipe in, and that's without the refrigeration system. Or they're the coils that you can put on top of a hard surface and then freeze it that way.
Audrey?
Just to follow up on that question, if it's okay. If I remember the conversation correctly, the statement was made was maybe to let it be first, that concrete would be better in the future, and to just leave the gravel for now and do the concrete when you could in the future. Or am I wrong? Is asphalt as good as concrete?
I think, well, no, the concrete's going to be, for the term of it or the life of it's going to last a lot longer than the asphalt. I think our main goal was to have it so we did have a hard surface in there, so it's more multi-purpose in the spring, summer, and fall, instead of just having a gravel base. This allows us to do things outside of just the hockey and skating.
Just a follow-up, if I may. Chances are, it looks like the other is probably another $100 and some $1,000 to do the
Yeah.
concrete. And chances are that's not gonna happen with any kind of fundraising or anything else for that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Talk a little bit about the Becker Arena project. I know that's coming up next on the agenda, but, I mean, we could do the concrete right now if we didn't do that project.
Correct, but we would not have hockey boards or hockey glass to be able to continue the skating inside there. So the boards are, a very necessary piece to have it to be able to be skated on.
And why is that associated with this project?
The boards and glass,
Right.
we wouldn't be able to hold that.
But this is, okay, now I'm understanding. Okay, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay,
Audrey?
Is the roof still on there?
yes,
And it's that plastic or whatever you,
yep, it's a fabric
that
roof.
fabric roof?
Yes.
Okay.
Steve?
Maybe you know this answer to the question, Robert, or maybe Jared would, but is there any concern that the low bidder met the spec of the project as it's intended? Because there's a pretty good spread in these bids.
Yep.
Is there any concern that tradesman is or is not meeting the specifications of the project?
We asked that question, Jay Pomeroy, we're working with, and we did our due diligence in asking them, the question about that as well, making sure that all the specs are going to be required because, of making sure it's a rigid frame and that meets all the specs in there, so. And I, reached out to someone that has used tradesmen before up in the Alexandria area, and they said that they're great to work with.
Appreciate it.
Tom?
With the roof, if we have another unseasonably warm winter, like we did last year, does that mean that we're gonna have ice time for maybe a month or two? Or does that help with the keeping the ice on?
Having it, if you wanna say enclosed, it's going to give us cooler temperatures, so the ice is gonna stay longer. That's the whole goal, is so, if we do get warmer temperatures, that the shade, if you wanna say, that will keep the ice longer.
Over a Garfield or some other?
Correct.
like-
Yep.
Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So these boards, are they fiberglass or?
They're steel frame with a plastic on it. They're very similar to what's in the Cardinal Arena and the Blue Line Arena right now.
How do they differ from what we have like at Garfield?
Those are all wood.
That wouldn't be appropriate?
Nah, not really. Just, I think there would be a lot of repairs to the wood.
'Cause we have like two sets at Garfield.
Correct.
They don't get used that much, so are you planning on taking them down then or leaving them up year round?
We will most likely take out the radiuses, which are the ends for right now. We just don't have a place to store them all and that type of stuff. So, it's plus and minus sometimes. If you have the boards and glass up, you're still gonna be able to do some activities in there. If we want to get more into like, so it's set up more up for like a concert, then we would like to have the boards and glass down. But as of now, we're probably just gonna keep the sides up and take the radiuses out.
Audrey?
Just one more clarification. Somewhere along the line, there'd been a statement made about shutting down Garfield and Lincoln. That's a whole different subject than this, is it not?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Vicky?
So if this passes tonight, when will it start and when will it be done, do you think?
It would start this spring, it would be done, middle of October, so it'd be able to be used this year.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no further questions, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion, further discussion? Audrey?
Just a clarification, the resolution is just for the 1,100,593. So are we going to do a second motion for alternatives?
If that's the council's wishes.
Mr. Mayor, I can amend my motion to be the base plus alternates 2A and 2B, if that helps.
Okay, that helps. Who seconded it? Tom? You okay? All right. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Gilbertson,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Davis. Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Oss,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
and Gilbertson.
Still aye.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. I meant to ask you twice, I guess. That's still only 8 yeses and 0 noes.
That passes. All right. Next is the approval of the purchase agreement with Becker Arena Products for the outdoor dashboard system. Rob?
Yep, so this is to adopt a resolution approving the purchase of the outdoor dashboard system with installation for, from Becker Arena Products for $169,912. So this, again, this is just to get us to get the boards and glass and the installation done, and of course, it fits into the budget. We did receive 2 bids on it. This one does work for us, and also is beneficial for us that it's through the source well, so the state contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to approve and it's seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Gardner,
Aye.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
and Gilbertson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Next, Gorton Avenue right-of-way. Call on Justin DeLeo, our Public Works Director. Oh, Justin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. Within this action request, there's actually 2 items for your consideration. I'll go through the first one first and describe that, and then we'll come back to the second one. So the first action for your consideration tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the agreement to clarify right-of-way lines on Gorton Avenue. As a brief backstory, during the reconstruction in 2023 of Gorton Avenue Northwest, a property owner raised concerns over the placement of the curb and gutter. He believed they were placed outside of the city's right-of-way and onto private property. And after review, it was determined that there were discrepancies between the written record and a 1990 right-of-way agreement between the city and the previous property owner. So after numerous discussions with city staff and engineering staff, they came to an agreement with negotiated terms as follows. Term number 1, the city would initiate a proceeding to vacate a portion of the existing Gorton Avenue right-of-way. After that, the property owner would grant the city a new permanent right-of-way drainage and utility easement on the property. And thirdly, the city would pay compensation to that property owner for those new easements in the amount of $5,750. So that's the first action item. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Audrey?
Thank you, Mayor Reese. This has taken us a really long time. This was an error, or, I mean, our error, correct, when we did that we missed this? Or,
So there was an agreement back in 1990 between the city and the property owner. For whatever reason, that agreement never got recorded.
okay, thank you.
And it just came to light now.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'd like a motion.
So moved.
Second.
You got a motion and a second. Discussion? Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. There wasn't any other property, adjacent property owners or anything that had any issues, just
no,
this one?
just this one, correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Davis. Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
and Gardner.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes.
And so following up on that, as part of that agreement, the city is to initiate the process of vacating a portion, and so that's what I'm asking for with this second item.
that you adopt a resolution initiating a vacation of Gordon Avenue right-of-way, call for a public hearing on April 7th, 2025, and refer the matter to the Planning Commission. The reason that it is being referred to the Planning Commission is that under the city charter, section 9.1, after a resolution for vacating right-of-way is introduced, no further council action will be taken until a report or recommendation is received from the Planning Commission. This proposed vacation will be brought before the Planning Commission on their March 19th meeting and then be brought back to council on April 7th. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
And Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. That passes. Next is broadband discussion, consideration, and I'll call on Operations Director Kyle Box.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council. On Thursday, February 13th, Mayor Reese, Councilmember Osk, myself, representatives of Hometown Fiber, and representatives of Charter Communications Spectrum met to discuss the letter sent to the Mayor and City Council dated February 7th, 2025. That's enclosed in your packet. I'd like to highlight, kind of summarize that letter for the council. Within that letter, Charter expressed their commitment to build fiber optic lines within the Willmar Industrial Park. If the City Council determines that the Connect Willmar project is not feasible and elects not to move forward with its project, Charter would provide these services in the industrial park at no cost to the city. During the February 13th meeting, Charter further clarified that the areas of service of fiber optic lines would be located mainly west of County Road 5 within the industrial park to all accessible lots within the readiness to expand further as future parcels are developed. They have also expressed the willingness to expand to unserved parcels within the industrial park as those are developed into the future. The Connect Willmar project has evolved beyond the boundaries of the industrial park, and as did our conversation with Charter. Charter had indicated to the city a network evolution to a high-split network. This type of network generally utilizes the same coax infrastructure but at a higher frequency range to expand the bandwidth available for faster download and upload speeds. This was again reiterated in a Friday sent to the City Council late Friday afternoon, 12/14/2025. Again, reiterating and stating that they would extend fiber lines to existing locations and add fiber infrastructure to accommodate further expansion within the industrial park. Charter has indicated they have completed project design and are prepared to begin permitting. The construction of this project is expected to be completed within 2 months of the last permit being approved. Within that same message, it was further stated that Willmar is currently scheduled to receive an upgrade to the existing network called a high-split network again. Again, this project is now estimated to be completed and available in early 2026, and with the project and construction contingencies accounted for, Charter projects completion of the entire city in summer or early fall of 2026. One of the underlying goals of the Connect Willmar initiative is to bring a desired level of internet service to all of Willmar residents and businesses. As described by Charter, this could accomplish that specific goal in the short term. However, when comparing the performance of fiber networks to high-split networks fall short in the categories of speed, latency, capacity, reliability, and scalability. When you're looking at the long-term performance and future scalability, fiber networks are the preferred option. Throughout the Connect Willmar project, We engaged with various service clubs, organizations, including Rotary, Lions, League of Women Voters, with Willmar residents at Rockin' Robins, Welcoming Week, community engagement sessions at the Willmar Public Library. We have collected letters of support from businesses like Best Western, Holiday Inn, Country Inn and Suites, American, Purina, Bremer Bank, Willmar Stingers, Perkins Lumber, Baxanova, West Central Printing, and more. We have collected over 600 surveys. 9.49% of survey respondents are satisfied with the current level of service they are receiving. 42% of survey respondents indicated that they would switch to fiber if it became available. 25% responded that the type of internet service that they desired was unavailable. And another 25% answered that they could not afford the internet they wanted or needed. These types of responses and engagements have guided our project, in addition to reviewing other municipal fiber projects, understanding why they feel, and defining why they are successful. This work was completed and provided to you, the City Council, to evaluate the information necessary to make an informed decision on how you envision Willmar's broadband future. The Connect Willmar Initiative's project goals are to provide fast, reliable, and affordable internet to every resident and business in Willmar, to provide public infrastructure for private business to operate on, and to promote economic development in the industrial park and throughout the entire city of Willmar. These goals are deeply intertwined with our future of our community that we are all working towards. If Charter's level of commitment does not meet the City Council's needs, the Connect Willmar project remains a viable option for the City Council to approve in 2025. And finally, in its advisory capacity, the Broadband Committee continues to support and recommend the Connect Willmar Initiative project. Mr. Mayor, I'll pause there for any questions.
Questions from the council? Tom?
Yeah, Kyle, I've talked to you in the past about the city of Buffalo with their fiber optics network. What they have going on is $65 a month for 300 Mbps, $80 a month for 600 Mbps, or $95 a month for a 1 gig. Do we know what Willmar's gonna be charging for these type of services off of this?
That's a great question, Councilmember Butterfield. When we talk about rates and fees being charged, that was part of some of the survey respondents that we did collect. Ultimately, my understanding is that the prices that would be offered would be faster or similar in speeds, but incomparable in prices or less than some of the prices that you had stated. But ultimately, the city is not going to necessarily get involved on how the private market operates or charges their fees, but with the understanding that the council should understand as well that the prices will be competitive and cheaper and faster in a lot of those situations that Willmar residents are experiencing now.
Yeah, but we also have to make sure this is gonna be self-funded, and it's not gonna go on the taxpayers of Willmar, on the property tax, because
Correct.
you brought up in, I believe it was you that brought up in our work session that our property taxes go up 5% just to have the fiber installed to our house.
That wasn't
So we're talking another 5% added on to our property tax.
Yep.
And, so that's gonna be a wash, and I just have concerns with the city of Buffalo. They only have 15% of what they want on their fiber optic city-owned network. I have some big concerns on this falling flat, and we're gonna be stuck paying for it on our property taxes.
Yeah, I can answer a couple of those questions, Councilmember Butterfield. The numbers that we are estimating are very conservative, low numbers, and those were in the pro forma data that was handed out to the council at the work session. So there are some key indicators in there at prices that we're expecting. Those prices are lower than what we would be anticipating. Again, kind of by design in that way, not to overpromise and underdeliver. When we talk, you had made the point about property value increases. Yes, I did make that comment at a work session and actually some public engagement events as well. That is an example of what some communities have experienced, and whether it would be a fiber network installed by the city of Willmar or a high-split network installed by Charter or another private ISP, if there is an asset brought to your residence that is valued at a higher rate, it doesn't matter who is bringing that value, whether it's the city or another private company, your home value could increase because of that, whether it's the city or somebody else.
Mr. Mayor, and maybe to answer a little bit of your question, Councilman Butterfield, I know that my current rate with Charter today for that 300 megabytes, and I get 40 up, is $209 a month. So if it's going down $65 to $65, I'd be saving over $135 a month with my current rates, right, as we speak today. So I guess I don't know what the pricing will look like, but I know what Charter is currently charging.
Is that with your cable on there too, or is that just strictly internet?
Internet only.
Thank you, Mayor Reese. Just to clarify, so you're asking, what you're asking us is to work with Charter and come back with something by March 3rd. But I guess some of the questions that I have are, what will the pricing look like? Will we still have more of a monopoly by working with them than what we have now? If we don't like what they have to say by March 3rd, we're still okay with the time frame of who we've been working with, just holding with them? Or, kind of just a question of, as we work through this, I'm supportive of looking at Charter with that, but if they're investing all this money in Willmar, are the rates gonna go up or are they gonna go down? And how will we compare to other communities and some of those types of things? So some of those are the questions that I have, and I have no issue with us holding and letting you work with them. But their commitment to do it is still a second question of what's it gonna cost the users.
Sure, I can answer the timing question first. Timing is of the essence. And this was communicated throughout to council throughout the winter and early part of the year, what our timeline was for a project launch in 2025. We are prepared. We're getting close to a point and we'll be able to bring an agenda item to the council to authorize bids in early April. Waiting longer to have talks, negotiations, whatever that, however the council envisions that, does put the city up against a timeline to deliver a successful launch of a project in 2025. And what I mean by that is if the construction is delayed in 2025, we may not have the full, the switch might not be turned on in 2025. And what that does is ultimately messes with the economic model of what you saw on February 10th. So is it doable? Yes, but the numbers change. The prices, and Mr. Larson is in attendance, so please correct me if I'm wrong, David. Charter did provide us with pricing options, what that high split network would look like. They would be comparable to some of the prices that like Mr. Butterfield was commenting on Buffalo. And I will ask you to correct me, but I believe the gigabit plan started at about $70 a month. Does that sound right? And then tiering down from there to $50 a month and then they offered a low income price plan at $30 a month, and then a internet assist package starting at $15 a month. Does that sound right? Okay, thank you.
Wasn't that $70 though, just the initial? It was gonna go up to 100 once you, was it 6 months, was it a year?
1 year.
1 year, and then $100 a month. after.
Tier up over time, yes. And that would be applicable for those top plans.
I got lots of stuff written down, but I don't know if I'll ask it all or not. So
Okay,
if I can ask
fire
a
away.
couple of questions, is that fair?
Yeah.
I guess my initial comment is, and I'm new to the board, or the council, but I've known about this project for quite some time. It seems like we're suffering from scope creep. The initial ask was the industrial park. They came in over budget, and then Hometown Fiber pitched this to the city. Am I fairly accurate in that?
It was, yes, that was one of the proposals, was fiber to the home. I don't know if I could accurately answer, it came in overpriced.
But the initial ask was RFP for the industrial.
Correct, yes.
So the scope has crept from running fiber to a very small part of the city.
Yes, correct.
To the entire city, okay? I think, and I tend to agree with Councilman Butterfield, is I'm averse to risk. And as somebody who has the authority to spend taxpayer dollars, I think we should be averse to risk. I think pushing this to private industry is a way to mitigate or eliminate risk. And the risk is not 25 or $24.5 million, it's 33 by the time we pay interest. So am I willing to risk 33 million taxpayer dollars for zero product if this fails? I'm not. The next question I have is, I thought I saw some communication at one point where if Charter did this, they wanted exclusive rights to the industrial park. Has this been amended so that clause is not in there?
There would not be exclusive rights granted in city right-of-way to anyone. It was indicated in that letter that they would proceed only if in the industrial park, only if this project did not move
But
forward. Not
we're
exclusive.
not granting exclusive rights.
We would not grant exclusive rights to anyone.
All right. This next thing is just a comment, really. I saw a comment in the paper, I apologize for not being at the working session meeting last week, that there was a comparison to this being, we're building infrastructure. And in reality, we are. But the analogy that I saw was, and I believe, Justin, you made it because I read about it in the paper, was Minneapolis builds an airport, and then it's just a matter of whether you use Delta, American, or whatever, right? I think that's a fine analogy. If you peel it back a layer, though, I think it sort of falls apart because we're about 40 years too late to the internet game. You know, there are many, many options. If I go to Minneapolis, I don't get a choice on which airport I go to. I go to MSP, right? If somebody wants internet in Willmar, I don't even need to have a connection to anything. I can pull this out of my pocket. I don't need an internet plan. I have an all data plan, and I have the internet, right? I've heard people say people are cutting the cord like crazy, right? David will probably attest that they're losing customers for people cutting the cord. That means they're completely disconnected from anything related to a line. Starlink is offering plans through T-Mobile. I use Starlink at work. It's great, right? So I think saying we need 30% of Charter's business to make this viable, and if we think Charter, and I've told this to David's face, if we think Charter's gonna sit back and let that happen, if we build it, they may not come. And I'm not willing to risk taxpayer dollars to do that. The final thing I have, Kyle, is you mentioned, and I've heard you mention this multiple times, is affordable options. Who decides what's affordable?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when this project started 2 years ago in 2022, that was still it was a subsidized program that the federal government had in place. That has since gone away, and that was still something that we wanted to offer, and that's why that was put into this model.
So will we mandate users on the network provide an affordable option under a set specific criteria, or how will that work?
Yes, it would be under specific criteria.
Means tested, I assume?
Excuse me?
Will it be means tested? Like they'll have to prove that they meet some type of income criteria?
Yeah, the goal with that was to follow the same criteria that was required under that program.
And I assume that will be for an inferior product, or will that be for,
You know, it would
do
be
they
for-
get the top-end product if they're means tested? It doesn't matter, I just curious to know what the,
It would be for lower speeds.
okay.
Symmetrical speeds, but lower speeds. And that
Appreciate it.
would be similar to what this internet assist package that Charter is offering.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Can I add to one comment
You
on,
bet.
on the cord cutting? You are absolutely right. People are cutting the cords, going to mobile services, going to satellites, going to other means. Everything has to connect somehow. And what I mean by that, it's coming back to fiber. So when we look at some of these future options, when Starlink has to get a satellite feed back to the ground, how do they connect? It's not always just a end-to-end point connection. They have to have a fiber backbone or a backbone of some sort in order to make their service work. And that applies to all of those different scenarios, but just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin?
Talk to me about long-term scalability. You mentioned that that what Charter would do is kind of, you know, this coax plus fiber, that ultimately that doesn't scale into the future as well as, you know, a pure fiber network. And I know we spent a little bit of time at that workshop talking about the importance of trying to see into the future. And I think our experts in the room convinced at least me that fiber has that ability. Tell me a little bit about what we're sacrificing if we're not on a pure fiber network.
Sure. So again, I would, going back to what was discussed at the work session, when you talk about scalability on fiber, the way the data is transmitted is over light. It's not an analog transmission. When we look at high split networks over coax cables, there is a certain amount of engineering or amplifiers or electronic equipment that would need to be installed in order to push that data out at a higher frequency and over more bandwidth. It does have some, and I'm not the expert, but I do know it has some limitations on how far the distance that would be, and these are long distances where you don't run into those limitations with fiber. And there is a limitation with the amount of bandwidth that can be spread out over those types of networks. And these are massive networks. This is more than just a residential user endpoint. I mean, these are multiple users, multiple businesses. But when it comes to fiber, there isn't any interference or very limited interference or any degradation to the amount of bandwidth or data being transmitted over that line. So when you look at scalability in the future of a fiber network specifically, adaptation happens quite seamlessly, whereas there might be more significant work that would need to be put into a different type of network solution. If that answers your question.
And then the other thing, I'm wondering if you could expand a little bit. It's noted that the committee continues to support and recommend the project despite the latest development from Charter. Can you speak a little bit to some of their reasoning?
Sure. I think a lot of it, it's a great question. Obviously, the committee's put a lot of work and spent a lot of time looking at the details and in order to provide you, the council, the information that you've seen. A lot of it comes down to choice. That was another factor in the decision-making process or at the committee level. Having the regulatory oversight, providing choice to residents of Willmar, businesses of Willmar, and being able to adapt more quickly to the needs of our community. Those are some of the high-level concerns. And I think, or high-level thoughts that went into it. And then ultimately, it's a more long-term product. And when we're tasked to make a significant decision, the council is tasked to make a significant decision, looking at a fiber infrastructure, could be viewed as the most beneficial. In the broadband committee's eyes, it was the most beneficial product. And specifically to the open access network, it was, when we talked about, I had mentioned about looking at fiber projects that failed and succeeded. Some of those projects was brought up at the work session. Wyndham, I don't know, the name of their network escapes me, but they, ISPs, that particular one, I believe, tried to be their own ISP. It adds a whole other level of complication, and we're stepping away from that completely. That's never been this approach to it. We want to engage with private business to offer those services and offer more competition to the local market here in Willmar. So I think a lot of it has been summarized over the work session, over various meetings, but I think the underlying, the capabilities and expansion of what fiber can do, offering choice to Willmar residents and businesses, ranked very high to the committee.
Thank you.
Rick? Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So how many parcels are in the industrial park that we want to get fiber to?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councilmember Fagerly. It's going to take a little bit more research on our end. I know in the letter, it specifically indicated 24. We did ask about that number specifically, and that was Charter's best guess at the time, looking at a map. So if the council decides to move in that direction, we would get a more clear and defined number of what that would actually look like. In the industrial park in whole, there's close to 170 parcels out there. Some of them already are receiving some type of internet service. Some are not, undeveloped or farmland currently. Those would be removed. But it would be a number that we would need to more closely look at. So I would say 30 to 50 without, at this point, but we need to look at that a little closer.
But not all of them would hook onto our fiber.
You're talking about the Connect Willmar project. We would run, I'll clarify that. We would run fiber to the premise on each and every parcel. But you are correct, if they opted to or to not take that service, we would either run it or not run it to the building or to the premise.
And then we might charge $20 to $30 a month for them to, whoever, the IPS or
ISPs,
they'll pay us $20 to $30.
it would be the way the SLA, the service level agreements are structured, that it's it would be a percentage of total revenue that would be billed. So the example I've been using, let's say your internet bill is $100. If it's a 50% lease fee, that would come back to the city. The customer would pay $100 to your internet service provider. In turn, the internet service provider would keep 50, send 50 back to the city of Willmar. Just round number example.
Yeah,
Just
so that's gonna take a while to pay us back so we can pay for the fiber.
correct. That's what the pro forma model on the work session laid out. We used very conservative take rates, using a 7% take rate in year 1, ramping up to a 40% take rate by year 8, with all 3 phases turned on.
And then if we put fiber in, who do we connect to? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Willmar's geographically located very well when it comes to how Willmar is served. There are a lot of, get my terminology right, I believe they're tier 1 providers that come through Willmar that are offering internet to all of the ISPs here in the area, in the region. Willmar is geographically located to have more than one of those connections that come through Willmar already. We have had communications with those larger providers, and it was, I wish it was more serious than this, but it was, well, how much do you need? Well, we need X amount. Okay, it'll be this much a month. And I think you would be shocked at how much to buy bulk internet. I was at least shocked at what it would actually cost the city to buy bulk internet on a monthly basis to provide a 100 gig network.
What would it cost?
If my memory serves correct, it was right around $4,000 a month. If my memory is correct, but I could be wrong, but I believe that's accurate.
So we pay that a month.
Yep.
That's for the entire community then.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have to pay hometown $220,000 a year,
Yes.
and that's for what?
That is for them to operate the network on the city's behalf. So that is for a full-time staff to be on Willmar, technicians, and to be the operator of the network. It was right around $20,000 a month, I believe, and it tiered up based on the number of customers, after 1,000, I believe.
And would they have a technician in town here?
Yes, they would. Business
One
hours.
or two?
They would start with one, and it would scale up as end users needed to be, as more end users are brought onto the network, and then they would have a 24/7 on-call as well.
So the gentleman that was from, is it Wyoming or Idaho?
Yep.
I wasn't sure if he was pitching his business, so
Yeah.
we would hire him, or
No, that's a great question.
what was he doing?
Yeah, so if you remember, he started his conversation on trying to get terminology straight. So we have a network operator agreement with Hometown Fiber. He had used the same terminology, but on a different spectrum or a different scale. So what their model or what their product is they're a network operator for ISPs. What that means is that other ISPs, with them included, are on this co-op, or they have an agreement to all manage. Silver Light manages other ISPs under their portal, under their network. So they would not be doing, the city would not be contracting for them for services, but they contract with other ISPs, or other ISPs work with them in order to provide services on their networks or their portals, which they had proposed bringing ISPs with them in addition to themselves. So they manage their own ISPs. It has nothing to do with the city's operational contract. It's the same terminology that he used, but different definitions. Clear as mud, I'm sure.
Okay, I've got Tom G, then Tom B, and then Audrey.
You rattled off, I was writing here, and you said the satisfaction rate in the surveys for charter was what? And what was the following number? I wrote 9.4 satisfied. What was the next number?
Yeah, so none of these were ISP specific, just in general
Oh,
on
okay.
services being provided. So 9.49% were satisfied with the current level of service. 42% of respondents indicated that they would switch to fiber if it became available. 25 responded that the type of internet service they desired was unavailable. 25% answered that they could not afford the internet they wanted or needed. And it's not ISP specific, the questions are not driven that way, just in general.
So the 9.4 satisfied, does that mean that 90% are unsatisfied, or was a tiered question?
Yeah, it's a tiered question. It would be, I gotta remember what that one looked like specifically. I will follow up with you. I can get that answer before the end of the evening. It's on my computer.
All right, thank you. I do have one other one. What's the life expectancy of fiber?
Great question. We have been using 30 to 40 years, and we'll continue to stick with that.
Tom?
Just to follow up on Rick Fagerly's question, where you said 50% if it comes back to us, we still have to pay hometown fiber.
Mhm.
You know, we still don't know what the rates are gonna be on everything like that. That's gonna be the key factor, is one thing we've asked for as council on this since day one. What's gonna be, so we can see if this is gonna be viable or not. We're still sitting out here 2 years out from when was first thrown at us. We need to get this passed, because we need to get this started on construction. We're out 2 years now, and we still can't get an answer on how this could really be user funded to pay for it. We don't know. We know we're gonna get 50%, and then 50%, we have to give hometown fiber, and at the beginning, we may not see a dime, and we're having to pull out from our taxpayers to pay for this. We
Yeah.
need the numbers on, what's really projected on what's going on with this, see if we can get this, as user paid.
Councilmember Butterfield, I don't disagree with you, and that is something that we are actively working on to get signed agreements with those providers. The numbers that you saw in the pro forma document that was at the work session are significantly lower than what we are seeing being drafted by providers. We unfortunately cannot share that information, but it will be market competitive. And what do I mean by that? It will be similar to or likely more likely less than what residences are paying now. But again, I think it's important to note that the model, the numbers that you saw in the pro forma are even less than what customers would likely be expecting. So what I'm getting at is if you have, instead of a $50 internet bill, you have a $75 internet bill, that's only going to strengthen that pro forma model, not make it weaker. I don't however, like I mentioned, I don't disagree with you where we're missing some information of those signed SLA agreements, service level agreements with those ISPs. We're close, we're not there yet. We did have a conversation late last week with one ISP, or actually with both, depending on how the council wants to move forward. Not a guarantee, but they are floating around the idea of starting to do pre-sign-ups and putting some marketing material out there. The hesitation that there is from ISPs is how much of an investment do they want to make if the council isn't sure if they want to move forward with the project yet. Did kind of respond to that a little bit and saying we've invested heavily in this project, and to date we have had council support for this project. So I think there is a path forward to have information out there soon. It is a key component for the council to have when approving the project. So it's an important factor. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's important, and I agree with you. But I just want to reiterate once more that the numbers would work. They will work according to what our data is showing us.
Just to follow up on that, TDS has fiber in Spicer. Coworker just told me he signed up. TDS locked him in at $60 for life, per month, for 1 gig. Is that what Willmar's gonna be going to? Are we gonna be guaranteeing our customers day one, well, it will not go higher than this? Or are we gonna use other proportions where you start here a year later, oh, we're gonna bump you up 50%?
Yeah, again, the city of Willmar is not an internet provider. We are going to let the private market and private businesses dictate on how they offer their terms and conditions. I can't speak that someone would be price locked in if there was an ISP that wanted to do that. Would be in their prerogative. Again, we are providing the analogy, right? We're providing the infrastructure, the roadway, the airport, whatever it would be, for other private entities to utilize and operate on.
Audrey?
Thank you. I have 2 questions. The information that you were talking about that you said you weren't quite ready, that you were still working on, you couldn't share right now?
Yes.
As far as the pricing and those kinds of things, will that be available to us to know by March 3rd when you're asking us to talk about?
I'm gonna try my best.
Okay. So is it reasonable to say that that information should be shared with us, whether it's March 3rd or whether it's the next meeting, at the same time so that we can make an informed decision?
I will try my best to have that information to the
Okay.
council by March 3rd.
Okay. My second question is regarding the grant that we found out was going to be available. And if I understand correctly, it was for infrastructure, not the fiber, but would you speak to that and what happens to that if we don't do anything?
Yeah, that's a good question, Councilmember Nelson. The Economic Development Grant, the EDA grant, federal EDA grant that the city is applying for is for a industrial park infrastructure expansion project. Within that, roads, water, sewer, power, is included in addition to fiber. We were asked to put that in by the federal EDA when they had heard about our project, and that also includes the Network Operations Center located at the old wastewater treatment facility. I'm sorry, the second part of your question was?
So the grant, if we don't
we
do
don't-
this, then,
Yeah, so what, yeah, that's a good question as well. We are still waiting, again, with all the federal pauses that are happening with federal grants. This is one of the grant programs that is being paused. So there isn't a clear answer on when that would move forward. We're still trying to actively communicate with that, but it's just a little slow and hard to hear back from, understandably. What happens if we don't? It's a reimbursable grant. So if we do not spend the money, we're not able to reimburse for those costs. So I don't foresee that being an impact for anything other than the fiber.
the grant is tied to our fiber project.
The grant is an industrial park grant.
Okay,
Fiber
but you
is-
also said it's for the,
Yeah,
There's-
really,
Two parts to that grant.
okay.
Infrastructure. There's two parts to that grant. The one part is infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, electric for the improvement of the industrial park over to the Willmar rail plat. The second part to that grant is the broadband in the industrial park build. And it would also include the cost of building the NOC, which is the Network Operations Center over at the old wastewater treatment plant. Is that helpful?
Thank you.
Anybody else? So what, we're gonna come back to this on March 3rd?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I would really like some direction on how the council would like to proceed, whether that, in whatever capacity. I think council has some options to consider, but staff really need direction on how you would like us to proceed.
I'll make a motion to approve a letter with charter.
Okay, we got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second, discussion.
Mayor Reese?
Do you want to speak?
I just wanted to, if the council wants to move in that direction, I did consult with the city attorney earlier this afternoon. I believe we may have amended recommended action for that
Yeah.
particular path, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I don't know, let's hear what Robert has to say first. Then I'll call on Audrey and then Todd.
Mayor, members of the city council, if the council's intent, or if the council member who made the motion's intent is to either pause or move in a different direction than pursuing the Willmar, the Connect Willmar initiative, I guess I'd appreciate, I'm sure staff would as well, the opportunity to make sure that that we can prepare documentation, because the city is some way down the path for that project at this point. You've entered into contracts with your network manager, and there's certainly protections in those contracts. There are abilities at this point to certainly to terminate the agreement if the council makes certain findings. There's potentially abilities to work with Hometown to suspend those contracts. So I think we'd appreciate time to work both with Hometown and with Charter in order to bring an agenda item back to you probably on March 3rd. So I think as far as the motion made was the intent to essentially follow the recommended action in the council packet. I'm sorry to ask a question, but I'm trying to make sure I understand the intent of the motion.
Well, I've been against this project since the beginning. There's no way the city should be involved in this. Utilities were in it when Intel came 20, 15 years ago. They stuck a lot of money in and they bailed. They didn't want anything to do with this project. So, as far as I'm concerned, I would let Charter do it. If you need more time to write up appropriate findings, go ahead. I need a direction from the council if anyone else believes that.
I appreciate it, and I think what we would suggest would be that the motion be to direct staff and legal counsel to work on formal documentation to move in that direction.
Okay. That's my motion then.
That's what you intended from the beginning, right?
That's right.
Right. Who seconded that? Tom, you okay with that?
I just got one question though. We always can come back to this if Charter doesn't follow through with what they said they're gonna do in their letter, then we always can come back. And we already bought paid for the fees, paid for the network, paid for the design, spent, $700,000. So if Charter doesn't come back, we always can come back to this, correct?
That would be some of the evaluation we do in the whether it's a resolution or documents that would be prepared to the council, is that we would want to make sure that certain stipulations would be met. If they weren't in a specific timeframe. But really, it's a pause on the city project, and if those stipulations wouldn't be met, the city would proceed, has the option to proceed with this project.
Yeah, then I'm fine with.
Okay, Audrey?
I'm still gonna seek clarification. Are we doing what the recommended, is the motion to do what the recommended action is? No? Then I can't support that. I think where we're at now, we owe ourselves a chance, take the next couple weeks, work with Charter, see what we can come up with, and to establish a timeline, bring it back to us and then see. To just say, stop, does not make sense to me right now. We don't have all the cards on the table. Let's take 2 weeks to get the cards on the table and follow what's been recommended for us to do.
Okay, I think Tom was next, and then Steve.
Can you work on finding that clarification for the unsatisfied number? That's all. Or
You want to talk amongst yourselves, please?
Sorry.
Might take me a
I
minute.
tried to ask that before
Sorry.
when the attorney was.
Are you done, Tom?
Yep, that's the information I need to make this decision.
I think what Mr. Scott's saying is, Audrey, is they're just amending it to add city staff and legal counsel. Other than that, I think the recommendation is still the same. Did I understand that right? You're just adding legal counsel to the recommended action? I also understand that we have to know what the legal ramification of this is, particularly from a financial aspect. We spent a pile of money already, but if we cancel contracts, I personally am interested in knowing what the cost of canceling those contracts and how those contracts have this whole other issue, but is that kind of what you're saying?
I'm certainly saying that all of that evaluation will need to be conducted so that we can come back to council with a solid recommendation for how to protect the city's interests. Obviously, the council sets the policy. The council decides if you want to move ahead, full speed ahead with the Connect Willmar project, or if you want to slow down and see what Charter can deliver and put that project on pause. Those are all valid policy directions that we can take from the council. I think what I was saying is I think we just would like the motion to be to direct staff and legal counsel if the council is trying to potentially hit the brakes a little bit, at least on the Connect Willmar project, to bring something back to the council that addresses all of these angles.
Justin?
To seek clarification on the motion, here's how I understood it. The recommended action that the staff brought before us is to work with Charter to gather more information, to work with them to put pen and paper to the conversation that the mayor had with their representatives and our staff last week. That was the recommended action. I hear Councilmember Fagerly offering a different motion that would basically be to direct staff to move forward with the charter offer. And that there's details to work out with that. Am I accurate in understanding the difference between those two motions? I mean, it seems to me we have an option of saying just absolutely no to charter, to work with them and figure out what those details can look like, so we have something more than just a letter that they wrote us with unanswered questions, and that they're working on. Or the option, what I'm hearing from Councilmember Fagerly is, let's move forward with this. This is the better option. We don't have to consider our own network anymore.
My problem is, you had Kyle, you had the mayor, and had yourself talking with charter. Where was the rest of the council? We would have had committee meetings, we would have had a committee there. I'm voting on facts, not a motion. There's a difference.
Audrey?
I'm still looking for,
I think he's just adding the legal counsel, the legal part of it into it. I think that the action is still essentially the same, is get a plan from charter, and then if that plan goes forward, what is the legal ramification of that? How do we protect ourselves if that goes, if we stop Connect Willmar, what happens then? Because we do have signed contracts with Hometown Fiber, and I'm guessing at least one ISP. So what happens then? So I think he's bringing Mr. Scott into the, and Rick, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not.
No, that's fine. The alternative is deny the proposal. You don't even talk then to charter? Just gonna cancel it out here.
Robert? Yeah, I'm also trying to make sure I'm understanding the intent of the motion, and maybe I can ask Mr. Box for some clarification, but would you consider the staff recommended action in the council packet to be a change of course from the city pursuing its own network build-out? Or was this just in addition to moving full speed ahead with the city's network?
Sure. So I think for the recommended action in the packet would be a 2-week pause until March 3rd. That would allow us to provide additional detailed information on what a detailed proposal from charter looks like. I know we did get more information from them late Friday after the council received that late Friday after the packet was printed. I guess what we're asking is to direct staff and the city attorney to draft documentation or resolution to address project status and give the council that information on an option either to proceed or not to proceed on March 3rd. March 3rd.
I'm kind of waiting for Robert to see if he agrees with that.
Certainly, as described, that's very workable for us. If that's okay for the council, if that meets the intent of the maker of the motion, I'm satisfied, and we'll get to work and have an agenda item or options for action on March 3rd.
That's fine, but you still don't know how the council's gonna vote. Do you?
But we haven't all along. So we've been getting more information, and all we're doing right now is saying, let's find out if charter's offer is good enough to stop the other proposal. That's all we're asking for.
Fine.
Is that the motion?
We need a motion then.
Well, you made a motion, and then it was,
Well, yeah. We aren't ready to vote. I guess they want more information. That's typical. Can't decide anything.
Carl?
Excuse me. Yeah, I would, I guess say I'm not ready to to say no to charter, but I'm also not ready to say, let's cut ties with Connect Willmar. We don't know enough about the charter proposal yet. And we don't, until we can get some numbers maybe from some of the other ISPs. You know, and I agree, Rick, it's frustrating. It seems like we never make a decision. But in the interest of due diligence, minimizing risk as much as possible, we need some hard facts. So I can't say let's ditch the Willmar initiative and vote yes to charter, but I also think we need to seriously look at what charter has to offer. And then, by March 3rd, maybe we can make a decision then.
In the meantime, then, can you check with RS Fiber? You said Wyndham? You meant Winthrop.
Excuse me, yes.
Okay.
RS
That's where
Fiber.
the mayor's from, Winthrop.
Yeah, RS
They're
Fiber.
in that RS Fiber. It's 10 little communities that had fiber for many years. They went belly up. Winthrop has to pay $95,000 a year until the year 2037
Okay,
by order of the court. Now,
okay.
the other communities, they're still in litigation, the amount they have to pay. Why didn't they make it?
I think one of the models is they tried to be an ISP.
The gentleman that was here from Hutchinson, he was in on that.
He was a competitor to that, yes.
No, he was in on, part of it was,
I believe he was a competitor. I will verify, Councilman
no, he was
Fagerly.
in on
Yeah,
it.
okay.
They didn't make it. So,
And just to follow up on Rick's, can you also get in touch with City of Buffalo? Because my last report was they only got 15% of the clientele they were looking for on their city-owned fiber network.
Yeah, we did. I'll dig that email or that information out.
Yeah, because, that's gonna be very important too. If the City of Buffalo, is similar size of Willmar and they only got 15% what they need, that's gonna put a lot of money on everybody's property taxes going up here in Willmar.
We still got a motion, correct?
We have the motion read to us.
I'll withdraw the motion. And I'll wait till third or
I'm fine with that.
fifth.
Okay, the one that made the motion and the second have withdrawn their support. Are we okay to go ahead with what has been indicated to?
No, I think Kyle needs, he needs guidance. How about this? I'll make a motion. Direct the city staff and city attorney to work with Charter Communications, Spectrum, and Hometown Fiber on a commitment to offer, Charter to offer fiber optic services to the industrial park, establish a timeline for increased residential services by March 3rd, 2025, and determine the legal ramifications of what happens if we do that. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. You okay with that? All right,
I'm good.
all right. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Oss.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
And Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a request for joint work session on Monday, March 24th, and that the intent is to review the draft elements of the comprehensive plan. I need a motion or discussion in regards to the joint session.
Okay.
With the planning commission.
That's what I was just wondering.
Is it joint mean planning commission?
Yes, they're busy.
Mr.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we are requesting a joint working session with planning commissioners and city council too, yes.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Tom?
What time are we looking at?
You know, it is up to the council. We're proposing either a day session or an evening session. We're not looking for any action at the meeting. It's just information only.
Justin?
I just want to point out that that is spring break week. I know that maybe on the planning commission, there's folks with young children. I know all of you guys are pretty old around here, but just wanted to point that out. And insult all of you as well, so.
Well, I would need it in the evenings if you guys want me at 10. With my work schedule.
Audrey?
I'm okay with that, but I would suggest that since there's more than just us, you send it out to see who can be there on that night.
On tomorrow, we are sending an email to planning commissioners. They're meeting tomorrow.
Just ask us to respond who's going to show up.
Well,
All right. Well, I've still got a motion and a second, I believe. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Schultes,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
and Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next is a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3 to develop or consider offers or counter offers for the city's purchase or sale of real property and/or to determine the asking price for real property to be sold by the city. Legal basis for the closing is the portion of the regular meeting of the city council will be closed pursuant to